Welcome to this episode of your favorite interior design podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Stuart, interior designer, over-the-top maximalist, and firm believer that animal print, when done well, should be considered a neutral. This podcast is for anybody that has ever looked around their space and thought, this is shit. You deserve better. And through my eclectic career, including multifamily housing, hospitality, senior living, and high-end residential, I've learned that confidence is key. We'll be here each week with industry experts to share their experiences and motivate you to take action and create a space that feels good and makes you proud. I promise it'll be a little bit cussy, a lot sassy, and we'll have a ton of fun. Welcome back to your favorite interior design podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Stephanie Stewart, and today I'm excited to bring you a professional artist, Brent Foreman, here from Phoenix, Arizona, and we are going to talk about today the relevancy of original artwork in a technology age. And I'm going to start out by letting Brent tell us a little bit about himself, and then we'll get right into it because we have a lot to talk about.
Okay, so I am a professional artist. I make pretty pictures for people, and I've been doing that since 2001 professionally. It's the market's changed a lot. The relevance of having original art has changed a lot. Most people nowadays are more interested in just going to your local Crate and Barrel or your local Z Gallery or wherever, and putting the artwork up on their walls as opposed to having somebody either commission to do a piece or buy one from a gallery or whatever. It seems that nobody goes into galleries anymore. So I am certainly analog in a digital age, and it's been challenging to sort of come to terms with a dying profession, as it seems. So I still like it. I still like making artwork. I still enjoy, seeing it up on the wall and seeing a finished product and having it be part of, say, your design or any other interior designer's work. I enjoy the final product, the photos up, photos up online or photos up on their websites, and I go, oh, I did that. That's great. I was a part of that project, But I still like to paint too. I still like to doodle like I did when I was 5 years old, and I guess I always knew I was going to be doing this. I just didn't really know how that was going to happen. My job as it is right now didn't exist, just simply didn't exist. I started painting at 19 in college and was either stubborn or conceited enough to think that, oh yeah, I can probably do this for forever. So much so that I went and got a master's as well. So yeah, some people never learn, and did all the things and the stuff. And when I got to college, I did a lot of manual labor jobs like everybody else does, and did a lot of other odd jobs and stuff. But I found my way through a place called Phoenix Art Group when I was 28. I signed on with them and worked with them for just about 2 years, just under 2 years. And they taught me all the things I need to know about how to make originals that are marketable, that are palatable to, I suppose, to the masses.
Well, so let me pause you right there, because that is something that I want to talk about. And you and I met through us, collaborating, because, interior designers and artists collaborate all the time, right? And so we have clients that, we have clients that need artwork, and we don't want to go to Z Gallery or, out to a retail shop and get something that everybody likes. But that does lead us, when you told me about your story and about how you learned how to make artwork that, appeals to the masses, the same thing with us as interior designers too, right?
Oh yeah.
We learned that. I had somebody tell me today, not today, but recently, they said, it's funny how designers have a hard time specializing in a certain style. They really find it, kind of offensive because they want to be able to do all the different styles. And I was like, yeah, I said, I tell my clients, on your project, your style is my style, right? I like one thing, but you like another thing, and I put it together for you. But it doesn't always have to be that way. So some of it, you want to appeal to a lot of people, but others, you want to make it personal. So tell me about how you make artwork, are you just not just, I wouldn't say just, right? Because I mean, it's your art and it's your work. I couldn't do it. I've tried to DIY art before. I mean, don't tell anybody, but
A lot of wine and paint parties in your past, huh? Mm-hmm.
no, not even that close. I mean, just like, oh, I'm going to drip some paint on this thing, right? And it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be art all of a sudden, but it's not. It's really challenging. So how do you make, what do you learn to make them, mass produced essentially, right? Mass produced originals or very, very,
Sure.
widely popular originals versus a commissioned piece?
Man, if I knew the answer to that, I think I'd be much wealthier than I am. But the truth is, um, for somebody who has an art background, like I said, somebody who went to school and got degrees and piece of paper and stuff, it's difficult to reconcile the idea of um, how do we put this artistic ego
Right.
with keeping someone else happy with a piece, and usually that's commission stuff. But
Mhm.
also, I'm an only child, so that's a double whammy. So
Shoot.
yeah, so I have no shot at this, but um,
One thing that we did talk about was
yeah,
regional,
yes,
how
regional styles.
regional
Yep,
styles.
yep.
And that is something that, we run into, as interior designers. And I even
Hmm.
talked about functionality in just different regions where, I told a client one time that their laundry room has to function more as a utility room because they can't keep the paint in the
Correct.
garage, and they're a
Correct.
snowbird
Yeah.
and they're used to having
Yep.
all their adhesive in the garage.
Yep.
And I'm like, that paint's
Yeah.
not going to
Yep.
stick next year. So
Right.
the same thing with you when you're looking at through a lens, through a client's lens. Tell me a little bit
Hmm.
about the different regions and what they like. I think that was so interesting, your perspective
Well,
on that.
so for instance, if you live in Dallas, you're going to most likely encounter folks who like, how do we put this nicely?
You know what? You can put it however you want.
They like
Scare.
extravagance. They like over the top. They like gold and metallics and colors that you don't find in nature usually. And it's a sign of their wealth. It's a sign of their sort of the culture of Dallas and Texas in general. That's just how it is. Florida, again, it's just sort of a big rainbow, and everybody does sort of whatever they want with all the walls and all the things and the stuff. And if you're going to paint for them, you need to have a flair. It's got to have some splash to it. If you're going to do, say, Minneapolis, it's going to be a little more reserved and it's going to have a little more earthy tones. Generally, they don't want any. I mean, speaking as somebody from Minnesota,
Yeah, yeah.
they shun all sorts of show-offy kind of things.
I
But
love
that's kind of the Midwest in general. But you know, when I'm in my studio, I sort of have to take stock of where do I want this to show,
it.
because I have distributors on both coasts, and it funnels through them, and they send off the work to the appropriate sort of gallery. They do it that way. But I think, well, where's this going to go? Who do I want to show this to? And sometimes it's big miss, and you never quite get the theme right or the style right or whatever. But sometimes you can hit on something a little zeitgeist. You go, oh yeah, okay. They want all blues, they want all this, they want all that. And like, say, if you were to I did actually have this happen. I had a gallery in Oklahoma at one time, and they wanted more kind of animal, like deer and elk and cows and steers and stuff like that. So they kind of wanted a abstract take on that. So it's like, how do I reconcile this? Because I'm not a traditional sort of, I don't make cows and things like that. So you have to kind of figure it out as you go. And there's no rules and no answers. Nobody gets to help you with anything. So it's a lot of introspection and thinking about things on your own. A lot of problem solving, and not shockingly, we spend most of our time in our heads as
Right,
professional
right.
artists because that's just kind of how we prefer to live, I guess. But
Yeah, and that's the thing is,
yeah,
one plus one, equals two. But for us, it's art, right? And it's all our,
right.
our take on what someone's asking for. And so when
Yes.
you send your pieces out, let's,
Hmm.
aside from like a specific commission for, a single client, but when you send your
Right.
pieces, so you're saying that you work with galleries throughout the country and they
Hmm.
might ask you for something specific. Do you send them multiple pieces? Do they tell you what sizes they want? I mean, are they going off of what
Yeah.
people are requesting? I mean, kind of like they're the buyers essentially at that point, and
Hmm.
so they're saying what's in and what's out, right? Is that how it's working?
Right. I give them a lot of leeway in that I say, well, what what are your clients looking for? What are
Mhm.
they? What void is not being filled? And that's how I ended up doing cow paintings. But yeah,
And
you
I'm
kind of
sure
go,
they were
well,
lovely. I would love to see
oh,
some of these cow
they were
paintings.
great. No, not a
No,
chance.
okay. They're
No,
not they're not on your Instagram.
no, they are not on my Instagram.
I'm gonna
But
find one. I'm gonna Google it.
you shan't be finding any. Um, so yeah, no, it's a lot of like I introduce it that way. I say, well, what are you looking for? What kind of sizes are selling? Because sometimes color palettes come into it as well. So they kind of lead and they give direction and stuff the best they can. But even they don't know sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes they just kind of they go by what's sold in the past
Mm-hmm.
instead of sort of and this isn't all galleries, of course, but they try to they, they kind of go by the mantra of if it's sold once, it'll sell 50 times,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's I'm sure not a mystery to you in your business as well.
Right.
You have clients that see their neighbor's home and they go, "Oh, I love Tuscan still. I think
Yeah.
I'd still love to have Tuscan." And you're like, "Really?
Like, are you
Really?
sure?
You want that? You
Are
want
you
that, huh?
okay?
Okay, that's fine."
Sure.
But yeah, you just you do your best to try to figure it out. You're not always on target. You know, I think some of the more successful people in my field have figured out a niche. They figured out a certain thing. There's a guy that works for a company out of Atlanta that he does these super fun pop art pieces that are integrated with they're large scale, like 6 feet by 6 feet, and if you if you look at them from afar, it looks like a I don't know, Marilyn Monroe or something or whatever.
Right,
And
right.
then you get up close to it, it's these little bitty
Yeah.
figures that he has stenciled, spray painted, painted, and created all of these
Like
wonderful pop art
pixels or
pieces. But
yeah.
they're basically pixels, and they're
Wow.
they're all little figures that are about 3/4 of an inch tall,
Wow.
and they're all doing little things and stuff like that. So they're hugely time consuming, and he gets paid well because they're hugely time consuming,
Right.
and they're fun to look at. So
Right.
that's a niche that every single one of us in my end of the business,
Hmm.
we're dying to get there
Yeah.
someday, so that we can go on tours of the UK and have people adore us, and
Yeah.
have to sign autographs and stuff like that. I mean, that's what we all kind of aspire to, but or we should if we get into this business. But yeah, sometimes it's just finding
Finding the
what
niche.
it is that is going to be your hook, and
Right.
what's going to be the thing that people will come to you to look for.
Right.
And I've had it on and off over 20 plus years. I've had people come to me a lot and go, okay, well, we love this and this, and then eventually, if I make another one of those style paintings, I'm just going to run off screaming into the woods. So I
Right.
do have to change about every 6 months to a year. I have to change what I'm doing completely. Otherwise, I get completely burned out
And so
on seeing the same thing in my studio all the time.
so
It's just not that fun.
tell me about that. So so it sounds like, so there's an evolution and then, you don't want to be doing the same thing over and over. Like I don't either. It's like there's a lot
Yeah, no, of
weird shit that I
course.
do. Like if you look on Instagram, you're gonna be like, what the hell is that thing? And it's like the
This
weirdest,
doesn't, yeah. A
you
to
know,
B to R, back to C, and then over
yeah.
to U over there. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah. And I just don't want to
It's
do the same white room over and over and grayish walls and it's not gonna
but
happen.
unfortunately, the client does,
Right, right.
and
So
that's where you find yourself. You go, well, how much do I want to get paid
right.
for a project, and how much do I want to have integrity and sanity. And
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, right, we didn't do this for integrity and sanity. We
Yeah.
did this because we want to get paid to do the thing that we've liked our
Right.
entire lives.
For sure. So what's your
So
favorite, what do you enjoy most right now? It sounds like it varies, but what do you enjoy most?
it does.
Yeah. What do you
Um,
enjoy painting right now? What's your thing?
honestly, so over COVID,
Hmm.
I rediscovered um, watercolor, which I
Okay.
hadn't done since college. I only took one class in college that I absolutely loved, and I rediscovered the materials that were involved, the paper, and what kind of weight would work best for which kind of wash and stuff like that. And I was obsessed during COVID, especially early 2020, of just like YouTube videos of people who are absolutely magnificent at this, and
Wow.
watching them through their little tutorials and their little process videos, going, they weren't necessarily narrated or anything. It was just a 20-minute video of somebody who is incredible at this. And they show you just kind of, the jump cuts of like, oh, well, here's this. And then, the jump cuts and stuff. But at the end, you just go, oh, right. Yeah. So this, and we do this. And so since then, I've tried to find a way to make um, that washy, watercolory process work for acrylics. And
Oh, okay.
it's slowly but surely taking shape with some new landscape pieces and stuff like that, which, by the way, I've never done landscapes, never, not once. They're just too representational. But now that I've been sort of asked to do some, I guess they'd be transitional pieces, transitional abstract landscapes, I'm finding them to be really entertaining and really fun to do and stuff. And I don't really have to, worry about details of, is there enough cows in this? Is there enough grass over here or whatever? It can actually be like,
I
fun,
can't
fun to look
imagine.
at.
It's so challenging. I sketch and I don't even sketch well. And it's one of my dreams to be able to sketch, and to be able to, make anything close to, as cool and as beautiful as the things you make. It's like, I would just put it up on
Well, thank God you're going to put me out of business if you make too much good stuff. I mean, yeah,
Oh, there's room for everybody. Don't worry. There's
yeah,
room for
sure,
everybody. But
sure.
it's, I mean, it's just interesting. Also, like I've tried sketching on the computer, or on the iPad or whatever, and I've tried sketching on, paper, and paper is by far a lot, so much easier because it
Hmm.
pencil and, your hand and how it feels and just
Yeah,
all
there's a tactile quality to it, and it's just
you can
for sure.
feel it. I mean, it's like it's kind of alive, right? You're
Hmm.
like
It's an
moving.
extension.
Yeah, right. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting hearing you talk about, watercolor and trying to replicate it in acrylics. And I just can't even, I can't even understand how they work, enough to even try to want to do that. But that seems like it really,
It's fun. It's fun,
yeah.
but super challenging. Just like I found watercolors to be wildly challenging, and
Mhm.
I did something that I would never do, which is I started doing pet portraits,
Okay.
people's dogs, people's cats.
Yeah.
At first, it was just kind of something to pass the time because
Yeah.
there's literally nothing else to do, and
Right.
no sales, no galleries were even open. Like,
Right. Right.
so, I just kind of went, well, if this is how it's going to be, I figure I might as well do something.
Right.
But yeah, I found myself really enjoying the process of hashing out the pencil sketch, and then figuring out, okay, well, yeah, you got to retrain your brain how to do pencil sketching and make things look like things, because I spent 20 years not doing that.
Right. Right.
And then then you get onto it and you're like, oh, well, how do I make this how do I make this wash? What colors equal this? Like, so
Mhm.
there's little rules to it. But yeah, eventually you just kind of go, wow, this is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And how do I transfer this level of joy
Right.
into my everyday my everyday job? And I think that's kind of important, to keep learning how to do these things. I once had a professor in college, where I was in, I don't know how many drawing classes I took, too many to remember. And I had a professor that, he could tell I was getting bored with the drawing classes, because it was just like, you're just going through the motions and whatever. And he goes, okay, well, this is fun. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to take this big stuffed dinosaur that's always in the studio for life drawing classes and stuff. We're
Mhm.
going to put a stick on it. We're going to tape the stick to its tail. And then on the end of that stick, we're going to put a big piece of charcoal. All right, smarty pants, go ahead and start drawing with that. And
Okay.
that's what I did. I
Wow.
drew with and I still tease him to this day. I still talk to him. I'm like, thanks for, reminding me to draw with the dinosaur tail once in a while. And he just laughs. And I go, well, it's important because it shifts your frame of reference. It
Right.
shifts your, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And that's kind of, it's analogous to taking watercolor pet portraits and moving it towards landscapes and stuff like that with more of a washy tone, and it frees you up to not have to um, create the same thing over and over again. The little happy, I hate to use this term, but it's true. The happy mistakes and the happy little accidents of Bob Ross are a real
Right.
thing. They
Right.
really
Yeah.
exist, and
Yeah.
they're the funnest part about painting is all of the little nuances. And of course, those things are always the thing that if you do a reproduction of a piece,
Mhm.
a commission,
Right.
that's always the stuff that you can't, either you didn't
Replicate.
include in the reproduction. They go, no, that was my favorite part, was that
Right.
little splotch of red that was down there in the lower left corner. And you're like,
It doesn't
okay,
work.
I didn't notice it at first, but now I do.
Yeah, and so
But
how do you manage that with your clients? Because we do a lot of expectation setting, and but with our pieces, there is some artistic freedom that
sure.
we tell them, right, and we say, these things are going to be up to us. Like if we have to do a reselection, of course, the large pieces we're going to tell you about, and you'll help
Yeah.
make those selections. But if it's potentially a minor fabric change or some accessories, we don't even share what the accessories are,
Right.
and those are kind of the icing on
Right.
the cake. And for you,
Right.
I can imagine, that there's some trust that has to be built there between the client and when
Yeah.
and also the designer, because sometimes you're not even meeting the client. Is that right? Sometimes you're just
95% of the time I never meet the client. That's on purpose, because clients clients are wonderful. They
yes,
pay my bills.
yes.
So yay, clients.
Woo, clients.
But
Yeah,
they come to me because they don't know how to do what I do.
right.
If they knew how to make a painting and put it on their wall, they do that instead of coming to me. Much like I don't know how to do the finance job that they
Right.
have, or or whatever it is. I mean, so they get a little possessive and handsy when it
Yeah,
comes to the piece,
right.
and they can be a little difficult, which is why I never want to interact with them necessarily in person, because then they feel like they know you on a personal level, and then it's
Right.
okay for them to call you or text you or email you at all
Right.
hours of day and night, which is why I have buffers like you in the world.
So
So you can take that.
throughout the process, do you ever share, so this might open you up, and it
Yes.
does,
Yes.
it does for us sometimes too, is that we have very strict policies and procedures actually, and we have very, very strict workflows, and we share stuff
Right.
at certain times. We do post on our Instagram or maybe, on Google, it's coming soon, and we
Hmm.
share some of our concept presentations and information like that, but we don't share it with where the client could see it before their design is done
Oh,
or
no,
before
no,
they've seen it, right? Because
no,
you
no.
can't
It's
have all
never
of
a
that.
good idea to.
Yeah,
Well, they become creative director without even trying,
exactly. And it's
and
not their fault,
same in your
honestly.
business.
They're used to, clients and, people, they're used to being in control of their situation,
Correct.
right? And with
Correct.
the work that we do, we are a luxury service. Bottom
Yeah.
line, we're a
a hundred
luxury
percent.
service. Not
Yep.
everybody can afford to have an interior designer or an
No.
artist commission.
No, I can't afford my own work. Okay.
Right.
So
And,
nor would I be able to, even if it's just not a thing.
right.
But
And so they're used to being in charge of their world. And so we, want to provide them with a level of comfort that it's going to be okay. And also
yes, there's
stay,
hand holding involved, but there's
stay in your
also
lane.
like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're in your pond over here. Let me
Right.
do stuff in my pond without you micromanaging it.
Right.
And if you let them in, and you have, in my experience, if you let them in, they tend to pull that shtick. They tend
Mhm.
to try the old, well, I was just thinking, we were talking the other day, and we decided that, instead of this black and white thing that we commissioned you to do,
Yeah.
we're going to change
Yeah.
literally everything.
Yeah.
And now we want all tropical colors.
Right. Right.
And meanwhile, I've got it 95% completed.
Yeah.
I've taken photos, and like the photos have been sent to the designer. And then it's just, the problem is sometimes they believe that this is Walmart, and
Right.
they just get to change whatever they like and feel free to return things,
Mhm.
or metaphorically. And if you've paid for something, you're going to get that something.
Right.
Now, I will give obviously changes to a
Mhm.
client, minor changes that are either compositional changes, or if there's too much of something in the composition, yeah, absolutely, I have no problem changing these things. These aren't.
Right.
I had to learn to let go of preciousness with
Mhm.
paintings,
Yeah.
because if I did that, I would have them stocked up in my
Right.
studio. I would have
Ultimately, they're
10,000
not for you.
paintings stocked up. Yeah, they're not for me. So if you're paying for it, yes, I'll give you what you're looking for, but with a caveat. Like, you don't get to go in at the 11th hour and go, oh, well, we're going to completely change everything in our home. And sorry, you didn't get the memo, and all that stuff. But
And there's a lot
that's just a courtesy that you would afford anyone that's doing work for you.
of
You
right, and
don't always
that's
get to change
trust.
stuff,
Yeah, and that's
you
trust
know?
also between you and the designer that you're working with,
Of
or you and the
course, and that
gallery,
is crucial. I
you
need
know.
a designer who will. I hesitate to use stand up to a
Mhm.
client, but they'll have to. They'll have to. If you're not standing up to the client and saying, "Well, look, they're giving you literally what you asked for," and
Mhm.
they go, "Well, I don't care. I want this and this." It's like, well, this can be resolved two ways. You're either going to get the piece that you asked for, or you're going to pay again to get the piece that you just asked for. But either way, it's going to get resolved. It's just,
Well,
you don't get to just keep changing and changing and changing.
well,
That's
that
just
brings
not a
me to
thing.
another point, is what helps you get that clear direction? Because it's trust both ways, right? The designer has to be able, designer, whoever is is your person commissioning you, like
Right,
directly, right?
right.
Has to be able to give you that information. And we all know that a picture's worth 1,000 words. So do you recommend, when you start a painting, do you say, go onto my Instagram or my website and look at some of my other paintings, or what did you see that you
100%.
liked? What do you
100%.
what are deal breakers? And then make sure that the information gets to you, number one, and that you're asking the right questions. Because also, I find that people don't really know what to ask for, because we are the
Correct.
experts, you're the
Correct.
expert.
Yeah.
And how without, I know that's a challenging question because it's art. It
No,
is,
no,
you know,
not at all. It's
okay,
actually
tell
quite
me.
easy.
Yeah,
You
tell
can
us.
eliminate a lot of problems by um, going to the designer or the client, usually the designer, of course,
Mhm.
and then you say to them, "Look, um, you're going to hold hands with the client.
Mhm.
I'm going to be the person on the other end giving you the information of what's happening. Check out my Instagram for the work I've done.
Mhm.
If they like what they see on my gallery, then then now we're just talking about sizes and prices.
Right.
They'll just go, okay, well, we love this piece. We need a little extra added to this, or we need a better size for our space. No problemo. That's not a problem. But then the other half of that is you ask for a deposit up front, and it's non-negotiable.
Right.
It gets rid of a lot of looky loos when they
Right.
actually have to pay up front. Which,
Yep.
again, in your business, it's the same thing. Like,
Same thing.
people love to play this game that they're gonna you know they're gonna buy, and then when time comes to cut a check, they're like, well, maybe you could lower the price a little, or maybe you could, maybe we could shift some stuff around, or if I gave recommendations to some of all of my wealthy friends or whomever,
Right, right.
that
The carrot of more
everybody
projects.
turns everybody turns into Monty Hall.
Well,
Sorry, that's Let's Make a Deal. I'm a little old, so I kind
it's
of know those
fine.
references. But
Well, so you just use technology like as a plus and something that's helpful, because also we
right,
talked about that, galleries used to be your outlet to get to clients, and now you're able
yeah,
to, market yourself online. But in our
right.
original, or our, our main topic is, about technology and original artwork, and how do we all
Hmm.
fit into that? How, how do you stay relevant where people can literally, again, we're saying just shop for any piece of art. We have to show them that it's more than just a colors on the wall, right?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to convince people of value, what
Mm-hmm.
they're getting for their money. I mean, I have people who, let's just say, I had a piece that was $1,000, right? Um, Anybody I know personally who is just working middle class people, they would never spend that money because they don't have $1,000 discretionary income
Mm-hmm.
to spend on that. I mean, they'll go buy a new snowmobile or something, or they'll go buy a new, whatever, or a new dishwasher, whatever
Yeah,
it is. But what I make and the services you provide are definitely discretionary income items. And
right.
um, what I found is folks who are wealthier, who are my target audience and yours as well, most of the time they don't have a problem cutting checks
Mm-hmm.
for this kind of stuff. I mean, they just go, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And if they start haggling over price, well, that becomes a sticky wicket to deal with, and stuff. But yeah, we're all out there trying to find um, people who value what we do, and it's becoming increasingly difficult with all the noise from AI, all the noise from, again, your Crate and Barrels, your Z galleries, your wherever. Anybody who knows any interior designers now that are coming out of colleges,
Mm-hmm.
um, when they get their first job, either as an intern or full time or whatever it is, I know for a fact that most design firms are just handing them catalogs. They go, "Well, here's where you pick out your furniture.
Right.
Here's where you pick out your artwork."
Yeah.
Like I keep places like Left Bank Art and things like that. They specialize in just doing catalogs. They're just
Right.
there, and here you go. This is easy. Here's the color schemes, and here's the Pantone color of the year, which is for some reason peach.
I don't
I don't
know. I don't know. It's
understand that.
awful.
Um,
Who picks it? I want to pick
not
it.
my thing, but somebody did.
Who's out?
But
Pantone. If you're listening to this, we
yeah,
want to be on the
please
board.
find something else. Good
Brent and
God.
Stephanie,
But
we're your ticket to a better
yeah,
Pantone color.
anything, literally anything else, just
2025.
magenta, anything, just something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's become an age of convenience. Again, interior designers do not want to take their clients, nor do the clients necessarily want to break up their day to go to a gallery. It's just not a thing. It's just so much easier to. I'm speaking more like new to the business interior designers when they just get out of Scottsdale Community
Right.
College with their degree or ASU or whatever. Like there's no incentive anymore for them to take their clients to galleries in Old Town. Like they're not whining and dining them anymore. They're just
Right.
like, okay, well, here's all of your selections that I found on Left Bank,
Yeah.
which they're a fine company. Like
Right.
I get it. Everybody's got to make an earn a living, but um,
It's
it's taken its toll on us as sort of, I guess you'd call it, independent contractors or whatever, people who
right.
aren't a huge conglomeration. I mean, it's difficult to make it an as it is, and then you throw on that where nobody's even going to be looking at your stuff in a gallery. Like it's a dying profession as far as that goes. I mean, I have galleries, and every one of them will give you the song and dance, and everything's fine, and that
Right.
there's no issue with any kind of anything, and then
Mhm.
nothing sells for months on end. And if I shop the images around to interior designers, they're like, yeah, we like. I mean, it's been proven. I've been doing it.
Yeah.
We like the work.
Right.
Okay, well, the work is over over yonder in that
Yeah.
gallery that's in your city that's maybe 10 minutes away from you tops.
Right.
And it's just a lot of no can doozies. Like, oh well, no, nobody's got time for that. I'm too busy with other things. It's like, well, that's where we're at with everything.
Right. And that's what, what we have to do,
So
for our clients is help them understand the value of original artwork, right? And we are curating for them these designs and
yes,
not picking out of a catalog.
correct,
I've had interns,
correct,
they start that way and they start looking for stuff. And then you say, okay, well, what size is it? And you're like,
right,
that's too big, or
right,
that rug is one of a kind and it only comes in this size. Well, that's too small. It's not,
right.
we're not shopping on Wayfair and you can pick whatever size you want.
Oh,
And
Wayfair.
yeah,
Oh,
right, good old Wayfair.
yeah.
I was on there the other day and I was looking at something and it had like, it's just so weird, like the range and stuff. There were like these chairs that were like King Charles, like I don't know, they were just like these weird red velvet tufted gold things, and I like
Oh,
gold
they sound
things.
lovely. Yeah.
But it was just like, and those were like thousands of dollars, and then it's all the way down to like a curtain rod or something, and I was thinking, I was like,
Wayfair, you say? Thousands of dollars on Wayfair.
yes, you would be shocked. But
I
it's like,
clearly would be, yes.
yeah, but it's like, and that, people don't understand. It's not you don't know what fabric you're getting. You don't know where it was made. You have no idea what is happening with it. And it's not a quality piece, right? We throw everything away these days, and including art.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately.
planned. It's planned. I believe that's called planned obsolescence.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so when I started back in '01, I was actually married to an interior designer for
Mhm.
several years, and I got to see the process from beginning to end when they would receive the layout, the plans for clients, and all of the vendors that they would use, all of the people that it used to be a status. It used to be a sign of a status where a
Mhm.
client would say, um,
Like,
"Yes, I want these. I want these custom chairs with this custom fabric, and
right,
I want all this stuff." And now it seems as though it's gone the other way in a 20 plus year span where people are okay with having what everybody else has, and they just because of the ubiquitous nature of say Amazon
right,
or Wayfair or whatever, they're like, I don't care, just throw some shit in my house.
right,
And that's literally what we are collectively up against
right,
is nothing wrong with Amazon or Wayfair or whatever,
right.
but it's the mentality that's shifted from, I mean, when the supply chain thing happened back in 21 or 22, whatever it was,
Right.
I again I know a lot of interior designers around country, and their clients lost their minds that
Right.
they had to wait for a dining set that was sitting in a
Container.
shipping container somewhere off the coast of San Diego,
Right.
and they couldn't get at it. They couldn't do anything about it, because of shortages of staff or whomever.
Right.
And nobody wants to wait for anything, let alone have a custom piece of furniture created, or say a custom painting that I will make for them in a reasonable time frame, and they just kind of balk and they go, well, again, I can get that on my doorstep by 2 p.m. It's like, well,
Well,
okay,
one thing that
you know
actually happened for us is we did at first, it was very challenging to explain that to clients. The stuff was sitting in shipping containers and there wasn't
you get
enough,
what you pay for.
staff.
It's just that simple. You get what you pay for. that
Right.
that shit from Wayfair is going to be broken down and kindling
Right.
within 6 months,
Right.
if that.
But
It's
we
all
did
cheap made somewhere else.
We were able, once we were with newer clients that weren't in the middle of waiting for stuff that we're then going to be ordering, we would say,
Yeah,
okay, we can have this made locally, or we need to look for this locally because of this issue. And so
bingo.
we did get a little bit of a swing where people started to kind of think that way a little bit more. And,
Yep,
it's so quick with technology, people just kind of go for the easy thing. But we were
of
able to
course.
get some clients really thinking back into that custom mentality. And we just did a project with beautiful custom window treatments. I mean, just beautiful 30 feet wall of, what are they? Geez, the doors, like glass doors,
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
out
yeah.
over to the pool,
Yes, of
French
course.
doors. Oh God. And
Wow, I even knew that. Yeah.
I was just envisioning it. I was just so excited about it. They just got installed. But we also were able to do a custom table for them because they cared, and they wanted it. And it is fun, I have to say, to be looking in your living room or having your friends over and to say, "Oh, I commissioned this piece, right? Brent made this for me."
That used to be a status symbol. That used to be like showing all of your wealthy friends that, look, I have enough money that I can pay somebody to make me stuff.
Make it
And
for
whether that's
me,
your
right?
furniture or whether it's the
Your
coffee table,
clothes. Yeah.
your clothes, whatever. I mean, that used to be a status symbol. And last I checked, we have more of those folks out in the world, not less.
Right.
More people who are millionaires and billionaires and
Right.
wealthy and all the other stuff. And I don't know where their dollars are going because it's not towards original furniture, artwork, accessories, window treatments. It's just not going there. So I don't know where it is going.
Right.
So
And that's, another opportunity that we have, to just bring it back to light. And that's where, talking about it here today is really helpful because it's like, when is the last time, anyone listening that you went to your local gallery and maybe you don't know a ton about art? That's okay. You don't have to know a ton about art. I think art is so personal
nope.
and,
Yeah, of
it
course.
really is. And it's if you like it. And that's something also that you have to have confidence saying, you might think that's cool, but I don't like it. So I'm not into that one. And somebody can tell you,
Right.
someone can tell you, oh, this is amazing. This is worth, $10,000 and XYZ. And you maybe don't know why or what went into the painting to make it. Or like your 20 years of experience learning how to work with the
Right.
different materials and create these compositions. But you can learn, and it can be something that is a
So it
lot
should be fun. It should be
fun.
fun. It should be personal. It should be
Right.
it. It's it's kind of like when you're building a home or when you're remodeling a home, whatever you're doing, you get to start from scratch.
Right.
And that can be overwhelming and daunting and stuff. But the attitude shifted. It used to be, this was fun. This was we get to pick what's going to be in our home. We get to,
Yeah.
and now it's just like, oh, what an inconvenience! Like everything is so difficult to find and figure out and stuff. But it's not. It's not that difficult to find or figure out. I mean, people like you are a resource.
Right.
You have those answers. You know where to find the local people to make furniture or
Mhm.
window treatments or windows or whatever. What'd you call them again? French doors? Those? Right.
The draperies
People.
on the French doors.
Right. Right. So
Beautiful. Go to Instagram and
that's
post it
that's
soon.
literally what you're there for.
Right.
You're the resource, and unfortunately, nobody seems to want to take the time, and it's just getting worse.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's where technology is kind of, pardon my French, but it's kind of screwing us all
Yeah.
because we don't have time. I know people who don't talk on their phone. The literal thing, the thing that we're supposed to use for
Right.
talking
Right.
on, they refuse to answer a phone call, and it's like, okay, you're that busy, or what are we doing here? I mean,
I know. It's
that's
interesting.
kind of the overall theme of all of it is we've become too reliant on the thing that you and I are. I'm on an iPad talking, you're on a computer or whatever. Like, we become too reliant on these things, and we're not appreciating the artisanal handmade side of life, the things
Mhm.
that someone actually touched, someone actually spent 25, 30 years perfecting a craft to
Mhm.
get to you. Now it's just become completely, you know not obsolete, but
Well, it's a
just not
disconnect.
valued. It's not valued.
It's a disconnect, right? And art is
Sure.
connecting with people, right? I feel like your art, I love your art. The first time that we connected, of course, I went on Instagram and looked because that's my favorite place to be when I, check people out.
Right.
It's like, are the
Yeah.
lights on? Are they active? It's like,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But, I checked it out. You sent me also some portfolio pieces and they're lovely. And I was
Yep.
let's chat. Let's make this happen because I
Yeah, for
want
sure.
to see more of your stuff out there and see more of it, in my projects, alone, let alone all the other projects. But it's connecting with people, right? So these other pieces. I went into a gallery actually in Sedona, and I saw this piece on the floor, and it was just sitting by the desk, and I was like walked by it, and I was like, is that for sale or is that sold? And she goes, oh, I just took it down. She goes, I just took the glass out, I reframed it. My friend said it hid, whatever, this texture, blah, blah, blah. And I
Right.
was like, can I buy it? And she was like, yes, it's one of my favorites. It's been here forever. And she told me this story, right? And I'm like, this is her piece, right? And it's like, and
Right.
it's hanging here on my gallery wall. And I love it. I love it to death. And that's what original artwork does, is because she put her intention into it, and whatever she was thinking of, or her inspiration, whatever, and
Right.
I feel like it was made for me, right? And I found it,
Right.
and it's
Yeah,
here, and it's in my space. And that's what original
exactly.
artwork does, is it creates that connection. I had to tell you, my dad, I called my dad the other day and asked him how to do something. I'm like, hey dad, how do you blah, 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 right? Because that's who you call dad. And
Yeah, well, naturally.
he says, oh, I don't know. Why don't you Google it? And I'm like, no, I want you.
No, Dad, you're Google.
You're
You are
Google.
Google. You figure this out for me.
You tell me how to fix the dryer or whatever I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to do. But that's our
Yeah,
mentality, right? So I want to just like, maybe that was a big, huge PSA for, connecting with people, but it really is
sure.
for thinking of what went into it, and how, what the thought process was, and what's the story behind the pieces of art. Do you make pieces that you haven't been commissioned to make? Do you just sometimes go in your studio and just, you're like, I'm painting right now, I'm gonna go for it?
They happen more by accident, and a lot of times what I'll do is I will, again, trying to create a new body of work. You'll have a lot of whoops daisies, and you'll have a lot of stuff that just completely gets painted over, and it's just, what are we doing here?
That's
So,
another thing, is how many times
um,
has it been painted over, right? I never thought about that, but anyone who's just
uh,
watching YouTube and they
no,
didn't see
I
the
really can't comment. There's been a few that have seen quite a few miles under them, because they've been shipped and sent to different places, and then they come back because they didn't get sold, and then they'll come back to me, and I will paint over
you paint over.
that and paint over that
Think about that.
again,
So
and
where has that final piece been, and how exciting is that? I'm getting so excited. If you guys are just listening on podcasts and not watching on YouTube, I just got so excited. But think about that too. I mean, how
yeah,
fun.
these places have seen
Yeah,
hundreds and
yeah,
thousands of miles.
yeah.
I actually just I'm in the middle of doing a series right now that is neutrals, black and whites, and stuff. I have like five different things going on because I get bored real easy with stuff. But
As you
I
do,
have,
as an
and it
artist does.
was, as you do, and again, like we were talking in the beginning, you have to send stuff to this place and send stuff to this place, so you kind of do this. But there's a series that I'm doing. It's called Old Souls, and
Okay.
it's all pieces that have seen thousands of miles of travel. They've been to
Ah,
different galleries, different states, different cities, all the stuff. And I'm hoping that this is sort of their last, um,
go around.
yeah, their last go around, and that somebody will buy them in the condition they're in and stuff, because I really love the idea of that. Just having all of that experience, being out in the world and seeing all these places, and being stretched and then unstretched, and then being, you know rolled up, sent back, and then painted over, and then rolled up, sent out somewhere
Is
else
that
and
how
stuff.
it happens? You send them out rolled up and they stretch them at the gallery, or?
So local stuff is a little bit different than national stuff.
Mhm.
For national stuff, because I have different galleries and art consultants and stuff like that, what ends up happening is usually what I do is I will stretch canvas here in my studio and paint on a stretch canvas. When it's done, pull the staples out and you roll it up, and it goes in a FedEx tube or whatever, and it gets shipped off to either the client, the art consultant, the gallery, whatever. It's just a more economical way of doing things, because
It is so
99% of these places are they have framing shops either in house, or they have somebody they use and
partnership,
stuff.
right?
And sometimes, the distributors and stuff I work wholesale with, so it's like I have a price. This is what I want out of it.
Right.
And baked into that is, okay, well, you're still going to get um,
Commission.
your cut of all this. This is what I need out of this. Here's your cut, and whatever this is has to include the cost of your framing, which usually is discounted because you're doing multiple pieces and stuff. So
Right.
there's some economics involved and stuff like that, but just easier to ship. I mean, locally you can certainly uh, do stretched and hang stretched and all the other
Mhm.
good stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you're outside of Phoenix, yeah, it's generally shipping that route, and most people like that because they don't have to like worry about freight costs. They don't have to
Right.
worry about
Crate,
damage and stuff like that.
getting really, literally getting a crate, or a big box, but,
Oh,
having to
oh
deal with
God,
it.
such a hassle.
It is
Yeah.
so challenging, and that's another thing,
Hmm.
teaching clients the whole process and like how it goes. And
Yeah.
I love this story about this series that you're doing. So I would challenge you. I'm going to challenge you, Brent, to put this in, like, if you are going to post these pictures, to tell the story, because I think that this is so interesting. What?
Yeah, I'm my own worst PR person. That's why I
Yeah.
have always relied on galleries and our consultants to do the legwork, is because I grew up in the Midwest, and talking about yourself is just verboten. They just bragging or trying to make a thing of yourself is just like such an ingrained Midwestern Minnesota thing that my when I was growing up, the people who were showing off were driving Cadillacs,
Right, right.
like Cadillacs. That was like top of the line. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, these people are
They
really,
made
really
it.
up to something over here. And
Yeah.
so that kind of stuff at 51 still hasn't left me yet. The idea that don't show off, be just fly under the radar. Don't be so having telling these stories and stuff. Yeah, I probably now you mention it, probably would be beneficial, but
I
yeah,
think
it's
it's
it's just something
amazing.
that's new to me.
Because people do want to know what your intention was behind it, and whether or not that one person is buying it for that reason, or whatever. But it's really, I think I'm just so excited about this story, that for this new series, because what how did it come about? And my husband teases me all the time, because I was like, how does it work? How does it work? Whenever somebody says something,
Well,
he looks
having
at
a
me and he goes,
curious mind is good. Having a
yeah, he goes,
curious mind is great.
he like says
You
it
know?
right before I say it. I'm like, whatever. I want to know how everything works. How am I going to rule
Right.
the world if I don't know how it works?
Yeah, it's hard.
So,
It's hard to navigate if you don't know how anything works.
right,
For
right.
sure.
So, I mean, telling the story and learning how it, what happens behind. Not everyone's going to read, all the posts and, all that information.
No,
But
obviously not. I have not had a lot of engagement on Instagram because there's this. I've just recently started getting my professional one
mhm,
going, so it's like, yes, finding lovely humans like you to get even acknowledge the fact that you exist, let alone follow you on there and then take a look
right.
at your stuff. It's a process that's taken me a while, and yeah, it can be very challenging. Some people are a little standoffish when it comes to approaching them on social media and stuff, and I totally get that. There's weirdos out there, but I try to be as direct to the point and kind as I can, and if they're not interested, I just go, okay, no problem. I'll take you off the list, and you'll never hear from me again. No problem. But
Right. Well, I'm
um,
a huge fan. I am so grateful that you did reach out to me, and I
I
really look
appreciate
forward
that.
to working together. And
Yeah,
we had so much fun the first time we, talked, and when we met each other. And
yeah.
of
My
course,
first Zoom call. Yep.
yes, your first Zoom call. It was so
Yeah,
exciting. I was so happy
yeah.
about it. I was like, oh yay,
I was real proud of myself too. Told my wife all about it. I'm like, I'm a big boy. I got to talk on Zoom today, like a real professional.
And I just want
So
to tell everybody, how did Brent make it through the pandemic without having a Zoom call? Okay. That Zoom call was literally in 2024.
never came up. Never came up.
You're a unicorn. I mean, in
I
many ways,
guess.
but to be able to make it through not having a Zoom call, I think that that's the coolest
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah, I had to download the app, the whole bit, and I'm like, I don't know how any of this works. And my wife's like looking at me like I, got another head growing out of my
yeah,
shoulder or something. I'm like, well, I'm not totally ignorant about technology. I just don't use all the things everybody else does all the time.
I
So
know. And that's the thing too about being an artist, right? Is that you come into this as an artist and then you have to become a businessman, and
Mhm.
so what percentage of your time are you really doing
Yeah, yeah,
things?
you have to delegate the time, with, okay, well, how much time do I try to become a social media presence? How much do I get to spend actually creating the work? And then is that time, that I'm creating the work, is it time well spent? Is it just,
Mhm.
do you just sit there for 2 hours just staring at a blank canvas, trying to figure out red or blue? Like, what do I do here? Which is a real thing, by the way, in case anybody's wondering.
Okay.
We do not all wear berets and have baguettes under our arm and smoking cigarettes and tossing, jars of paint at the wall and then crying. We really do have contemplation and inner conversations about things and going, well, I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but we'll see how it goes,
Right.
and just it's like I tell everybody, it's just a job. I mean, I love it, but it's just a job, and it's got rules to it that, if you want to sell the work, you can make as much as you like, but if you're going to sell it, you need to follow these little rules of, like, what definitely make sure and put, peach fuzz, the Pantone color, in all of your paintings right now, or whatever. Like, it has little rules to it, and it's not always
Follow
fun,
some
but
trends. Yeah.
yeah, you have to follow. You have to chase some trends in order to get some looky loos on your site and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Well, speaking
So
of, so that everyone can see your artwork, why don't you go ahead and tell us where people can find you if they're listening to this podcast
sure.
and want to share?
Okay, it's at phxartworks, Phoenix Artworks.
Perfect. And what social media are you on? You're on Instagram. We talked
I'm on
about.
Instagram. Yep,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I'm
Perfect.
on.
Okay. I love it. Focus, huh? Focus. Can't spread yourself too thin and
No,
go.
I have enough. I have enough jobs
Yeah.
to juggle around with trying to do picking out red and blue. So yeah, for
Well,
sure.
perfect. Well, is there anything else you want to tell people about commissioning artwork or, your,
Please do it.
yeah,
Please commission artwork.
yeah.
We're all looking for jobs and artwork and money, and I have bills to pay as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, please do that.
Thank you for joining us today. If you loved this episode, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review on your podcast app. You'll be entered in our monthly giveaway for a special gift. Share this episode by taking a screenshot and sharing it on your favorite social app. And don't forget to tag us at Stuart Design Co. and let your friends know where they can get interior design support too. Remember, a year from now, you'll wish you had started today.